13 years after Robin Gibb's death, the silence surrounding his private struggles is finally beginning to ease. For much of that time, his children chose protection over revelation, believing their father's humanity mattered more than public curiosity. Robin was celebrated worldwide for a voice that carried vulnerability and strength at once. Yet behind that gift lived a man who felt deeply, worried constantly, and carried emotional weight few ever saw. As time passed, holding everything inside became harder than speaking honestly. Today, his children are not trying to rewrite history or defend every choice he made. Instead, they are offering understanding. They are explaining the man behind the harmonies, the father behind the fame, and the contradictions that shaped him. What emerges is not a scandal-driven portrait, but a human one. A story of brilliance and sensitivity, of love and fracture, and of a life where music remained the one constant that never abandoned him. A restless childhood and the birth of harmony. Before the world knew Robin Gibb as a legend, he was simply a restless child born on December 22, 1949, on the Isle of Man, arriving minutes before his twin brother Maurice. Raised by parents who loved music and movement, Robin's early life was defined by constant relocation. From the Isle of Man to Manchester and later to Australia, stability was rare. The Gibb boys were energetic, mischievous, and curious, often worrying adults, but revealing an intensity that needed direction. That direction arrived through music. Singing together became the one thing that calmed them. Harmonizing felt natural, almost instinctive, as they absorbed influences like the Everly Brothers and Paul Anka. By the mid-1950s, their shared voices began shaping something unique. Even then, Robin's tremolo stood out, fragile yet commanding. Long before fame, music was already becoming both his refuge and his identity. Australia and a voice that changed everything. The family's move to Australia marked a turning point that none of them could have predicted. In a new country, the brothers found opportunity alongside uncertainty. Television appearances soon followed, and by 1960, they were performing publicly, revealing a confidence far beyond their years. Audiences immediately noticed Robin. His voice, soft and quivering, yet emotionally mature, carried an ache that felt timeless. It no longer sounded like a child singing. It sounded like someone reaching inward. As recording opportunities grew, success arrived quickly, perhaps too quickly. By the mid-1960s, the brothers were signed and charting, and when Robin sang lead on early tracks, listeners sensed something unforgettable. Yet behind the excitement, pressure began building. Fame didn't wait for emotional readiness. The pace of success left little room for grounding, and the early cracks began forming quietly, long before the public realized how much the cost of that success would shape Robin's inner world. As fame accelerated, Robin's personal life grew increasingly complicated. At just 18, he married Molly Hullis, forming a bond rooted in shared intensity rather than celebrity glamour. For a time, it offered comfort and stability. But as international success demanded constant travel, distance entered their marriage. Robin spent long stretches abroad while Molly remained in the UK raising their children. The separation took an emotional toll. Robin struggled with sleep, pressure, and the relentless demands of public life. Friends later recalled how deeply sensitive he was, how easily stress overwhelmed him. His moods fluctuated, and his anxiety grew, especially as expectations mounted. The marriage slowly unraveled under the weight of distance and misunderstanding, By the time it ended, the separation was painful and public, leaving Robin humiliated and exposed. It was one of the first moments where fans glimpsed that the man behind the voice was fighting battles far beyond the stage. Reinvention, spirituality, and a new partnership. After loss and upheaval, Robin sought renewal rather than retreat. In 1985, he married Dwina Murphy, an artist and writer whose creative and spiritual outlook resonated with his own searching nature. Their relationship was unconventional but deeply rooted in mutual respect. Dwina understood Robin's need for freedom, imagination, and emotional exploration. Together they built a life that balanced creativity with introspection, dividing their time between different homes and artistic pursuits. While the public saw calm and elegance, their marriage functioned on honesty rather than tradition. Years later, Dwina would explain that their bond allowed openness without resentment. This transparency, while misunderstood by outsiders, offered Robin a sense of acceptance he had long struggled to find. Still, harmony was never simple. Robin's desire to keep everyone emotionally satisfied often left him overwhelmed, caught between loyalty, love, and guilt. Even peace required effort for someone who felt everything so intensely. Brothers, rivalry, and unspoken wounds. The Bee Gees' harmonies sounded effortless, but behind them lived long-standing tensions. From the late 1960s onward, disagreements over creative direction and vocal leadership strained the relationship between Robin and Barry. Robin often felt overshadowed, his voice competing with growing expectations rather than collaborating freely. Though reunions followed, emotional wounds lingered. Morris, the twin who naturally balanced both brothers, often served as mediator. His sudden death in 2003 shattered that fragile equilibrium. Grief deepened existing fractures, and misunderstandings turned into silence. Public disagreements masked something far more painful beneath the surface: unresolved sorrow and identity loss. Robin wanted to honor his twin, but conflict surrounding decisions made that nearly impossible. Over time, communication between the brothers faded. What the public interpreted as stubbornness was, in reality, emotional distance built from years of unspoken pain. Robin carried that weight quietly, never fully finding the words to bridge the gap before time ran out. Illness, determination, and music. Until the end. When Robin was diagnosed with advanced cancer, the reality was devastating. Yet his response remained hopeful. Even as treatment weakened his body, his determination never faded. He continued composing, believing deeply in the power of music to transcend suffering. Creating the Titanic Requiem, with his son, R.J., became a symbol of endurance, reflecting both tragedy and resilience. Hospital rooms turned into quiet, creative spaces where melodies still mattered. Those close to him later shared how fiercely he held on to optimism, insisting he would return to the stage. Against all expectations, there was even a brief moment of recovery that felt miraculous to his family. Robin awoke, smiled, and spoke softly, humming melodies as if music itself had pulled him back. Though the strength did not last, those days became priceless memories, proof that his spirit remained unbroken even as his body failed him. The final goodbye and a gentle passing. In May 2012, Robin's strength finally gave way, and those closest to him gathered quietly. There was no spectacle, only love. According to his family, his final moments were peaceful. He held hands, listened to music, and faced the end without fear. Dwina later described him as calm, almost smiling, as if comforted by the presence of those he loved. For his children, the memory reshaped how they understood him. He was not defined by struggle in that moment, but by grace. Music, which had guided him from childhood, remained with him to the end. His passing marked the close of a chapter, not just in popular music, but in a deeply personal family story. What remained was grief mixed with gratitude, and a responsibility to remember him not as a myth or a headline, but as a father, husband, brother, and artist who gave everything he had. What his children are finally sharing. In the years since Robin's death, his children have slowly begun sharing their truth, not to provoke, but to clarify. They confirmed long-whispered rumors with calm honesty, explaining choices without judgment. Duina spoke openly about their unconventional marriage, emphasizing trust rather than betrayal. Matters surrounding Robin's estate were handled quietly, intentionally avoiding conflict. More importantly, RJ shared memories of late nights watching his father write music simply because he needed to. Not for charts or applause, but because creation was survival. Today, RJ performs some of Robin's unpublished works, carrying his father's voice forward. Through these reflections, a fuller picture emerges. Robin Gibb was not flawless, nor was he broken beyond repair. He was human, sensitive, loving, conflicted, and endlessly creative. His children's voices now complete the story he never had the chance to finish himself.